It's April 13th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today. In this show, we talk about the bull being back. It is back. We talk about why. We also talk about fiat versus Bitcoin. We do a little bit of a deep dive into GameStop. You're going to want to hear that one for sure. And then the macro heuristics. It's kind of a mouthful, but we dive into that as well. Plus, I have an epic video from Chris, one from Michael Saylor, and you're not going to want to miss those. This video is not financial advice, but please do comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're thinking right now. Do you agree? Is the bull back after what happened over the weekend? Is the bull back? Yes or no? Or just comment for support and let's dive on in. Today's first post from Michael Saylor. He just wants us to know, and he wants us to remember that 21 is the most important number in finance. I could not agree more. And the Bitcoin therapist follows up by just saying, and strategy is the most important name, which I'm just going to give a little heart to that because yes, I believe both of those things greatly. Speaking of the Bitcoin therapist, he believes the market is going to pump so hard on Monday. Now, asterisk, the Bitcoin therapist always thinks the market's going to pump so hard. So that's one thing. But I mean, this was big news over the weekend. Trump exempts phones, computers, chips from reciprocal tariffs. So this seems like Trump and the administration are starting to walk back some of these tariffs, at least some of them. Again, who knows? Is this another bargaining chip? Only the future will tell. But he's not taking this incredibly hard line, just we're going to smash everything with a hammer. Now we're starting to say, okay, let's figure this out and what's best for the economy. Jeff says, Bitcoin feels like it's ready to go on an absolute tear. It's possible we get one more bottom in late April, correlation of ironing out geopolitical tensions, but money printer seems inevitable and the entire market is ready for it. World is hungry for a true risk-off asset. The portfolio management calculus is slowly hitting radars at the moment. Also, tax season is over next week. Liquidity, that short-term liquidity, is less important and everyone's horizons are opening up. And Jeff is one of those people whose finger is on the pulse and whose finger I believe in as far as this guy knows what he's talking about, in my opinion. MicroStrategy says, hard thinking beats hard work 9 times out of 10. The success of strategy relative to proof of work mining companies is testament to this truth. A small team of a dozen people is responsible for the strategic acquisition of over 500,000 Bitcoin, a few laptops, probably more than a few cups of coffee. Compare this to the countless acres of land, property, plants, and personnel necessary to run a large mining operation. We're taught that hard work pays off. That's why there's lots of mining companies, but only one strategy. In the information age, thinking is more important than work. It's your decisions that matter, not the number of your deeds. And this is why when people ask me, well, what about mining? John, do you invest in mining? I don't. And I'm not saying mining is not going to do great in the future. I really don't know. But I do know this, that there's a lot of counterparty risk when it comes to mining. The land, the property, the plant, the personnel, the people that are leading that, are they going to do a good job? Which company? Is it Marathon? Is it Riot? Is it fill in the blank? I mean, is it a new company that's going to come up? Is it a government that's going to come in and just wipe everything out in a good way, or not wipe everything out, but just take over a ton of mining bandwidth and hash rate just because they're using stuff like nuclear power or whatever that might be? I don't know. But what I do know in my belief system is that Bitcoin is inevitable. The future of Bitcoin is inevitable. I truly believe that. And so why would I not just invest in the company that has more Bitcoin than any other company by a factor of 10 and typically a factor of 100 and 1,000 for most other companies? Strategy is inevitable in my thoughts, in my opinions, in my belief. That's why I go that direction. Adam says, any company still anchoring its treasury to fiat currencies is positioning itself for a slow, irreversible destruction. Fiat is engineered to lose value through inflation, monetary expansion, and policy manipulation. Holding dollars is silent capital erosion. Meanwhile, the cost of goods, wages, and real assets relentlessly rises. Cash-rich balance sheets are liabilities, not strengths. Strategy understood this early. They converted cash into Bitcoin and watched their balance sheet strengthen, while others saw theirs hollow out. The longer a corporation waits to adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy, the more purchasing power it loses And the wider the gap grows between leaders and losers, it's about math. It's about fiduciary duty. It's about survival. Treasury strategies stuck in fiat are on borrowed time. And then you have a Bitcoin therapist quote, if Ryan Cohen is able to successfully deploy Saylor's Bitcoin strategy, not only will GameStop do incredibly well, this will be the second evolution of a company in the market. The signal will be undeniable, and there will be widespread Bitcoin treasury adoption like we have never, ever seen. Now, I love Stack Hodler. We just experienced the most chaotic week in the market since 2020, pure carnage across all asset classes. And Bitcoin bottomed at 75K, a price that many of us were dreaming of just 5 years ago during the COVID panic. I mean, I was dreaming of 75K like 8 months ago. Now we're back at 85K. Both the Fed and Trump have made it clear that they will do whatever it takes to prevent bond yields from blowing out. Whatever it takes ultimately leads to one direction. The Fed stepping in as a buyer of bonds with fake money. That alone is a catalyst for Bitcoin. But consider this. This week terrified a lot of people out of their Bitcoin. We've shed loads of weak hands since topping above 100K. And now the most reliable long-term indicators have reset. We aren't even close to overheated and we're at 85K. What happens if we get Bit bonds? What happens when Trump admin starts acquiring Bitcoin? Who's going to be selling now that a lot of would-be sellers have already been shaken out? This past week was about pricing and complete nuking of the existing global economy. Now it's slowly being walked back piece by piece. I've been leaning bearish and setting expectations low since 96K in February. But tonight, with my ear to the ground, I'm starting to hear the rumblings of the bulls. They're charging in from a distance, ready to slay some bears. Trump and the Fed both blinked this week. The bond market is the funding mechanism of a government that runs a multi-trillion-dollar deficit. It will be respected. And if it demands tribute, Jay Powell won't hesitate to sacrifice the dollar. I don't know how high we go in 2025, but I'm starting to think this past week will look like a generational buying opportunity by this fall. And those who panic sold will rue the day they forgot what they owned. And as this water spout says, higher. Higher. And then this is from Chris. This is a cheat sheet with a list of the heuristics that he uses when evaluating the macro landscape. And it's very interesting. Of course, I'll post this in the show notes below so you can look at this in more detail. I'm just going to show you number one, which is everything is driven by global liquidity. And global liquidity is on the rise. Period. End of story. It is happening at a crazy level. So let's go. And I have two great video clips, one from Chris, actually, talking a little bit more, not specifically about heuristics, but about this topic. And then one from Michael Saylor when we get back from thanking those sponsors. So check it out. I know we're all looking to stack more Bitcoin and MSTR, and to do that, we need more fiat. So let's chat about our sponsor, ShipStation. We all know the market can seem pretty chaotic at times, but if you're in charge of order fulfillment for your business, you already understand chaos. While we might not be able to help calm the chaos in the market, ShipStation is here to help when it comes to shipping and fulfillment. I've used ShipStation to easily automate shipping to customers around the globe. My favorite part about the platform, managing orders in one simple dashboard makes an otherwise massive task feel pretty darn simple. Plus, ShipStation not only integrates with the services and selling channels you already use, it's also the fastest, most affordable way to ship products to your customers. ShipStation hooks you up with discounts up to 88% off UPS, DHL Express, and USPS rates, and up to 90% off FedEx rates. Calm the chaos of order fulfillment with the shipping software that delivers. Switch to ShipStation today. Go to shipstation.com/MSTR to sign up for your free trial, or click the pinned comment below this video. That's shipstation.com/MSTR. And thank you for supporting our sponsors that allow myself and my team to continue to produce these daily videos for you for free. Now back to the show. How is it that some businesses just nail it when it comes to marketing and selling products? Think about brands like Heinz or Allbirds. Well, the truth is, an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business making selling, and for shoppers, buying simple. And for millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and they also have a not-so-secret secret, Shop Pay, which boosts conversions up to 50%. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Want to grow your business? Then your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Just remember, Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Heinz and Allbirds use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/MSTR, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/MSTR to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/MSTR.
Okay, it is time finally for a macro update now. This is something I have been intending on doing for a while, but for one reason or another, things have been getting in the way. I was in Cyprus for 5 weeks, so it wasn't really ideal for me to record over there. But anyway, here we are. So in this video, I want to update you all on my framework for how I'm thinking about the rest of 2025 and the beginning of 2026. So we're going to very briefly cover 3 topics. I'm going to show you 3 charts, starting with inflation. Now, as you all know, CPI inflation came in at 2.4% yesterday, but that's not the big news. The big news is that trueflation, which is a measure of real-time inflation and has a 97% correlation with CPI, is currently shown, as you can see in this chart, an inflation rate of 1.35%. So again, just looking at this chart, it is clear that inflation is and has been trending downwards. And so I think we can safely put to bed the idea that inflation is a threat, or that inflation is going to start trending upwards again. So with that in mind, let's talk about what we can expect in the short to medium term with regards to liquidity and asset prices. So first, let's understand everything is driven by global liquidity. When liquidity increases, asset prices increase. When liquidity decreases, asset prices decrease. Now, I have put together a video on global liquidity and the global liquidity cycle. So if you haven't already seen that, I suggest you do so. But the bottom line is everything is driven by global liquidity. So on that note, let me show you the second chart, which shows Bitcoin against the global M2 money supply with a 92-day offset. Now, as you can see, liquidity has been increasing. And so over the next few weeks, we should start seeing Bitcoin and other risk assets also start trending upwards, and possibly doing so all the way through 2025, throughout the rest of 2025, and possibly even into 2026. And that brings me on to the third and final thing I want to talk about, which is the global liquidity cycle. Now, in a previous video, I spoke about how I was anticipating the global liquidity cycle to peak, as you can see in this chart, around Q3 or Q4 of 2025. Now it's looking more like the global liquidity cycle will peak in Q4 of 2025, possibly Q1 of 2026, maybe even Q2 of 2026. And so what does that mean? It means that as more central banks start cutting interest rates, more liquidity is going to be injected into the economy, which will inevitably drive asset prices up. Again, it's all a game of liquidity. So that's how I'm thinking about the next 6 to 12 months or so. Again, I did just want to keep this video brief. I am hoping to get some more videos out over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But until then, remember, the best is yet to come.
Because truth number 11, Bitcoin is digital money. JP Morgan said gold is money, everything else is credit. Money, a bearer instrument. I give it to you, I don't have it, you have the money. Well, Bitcoin is money. What is everything else circulating in the internet? Credit. What does that mean? It means that I send you something, I send you a fee over credit card network. 45 days from now, maybe it will be transferred to your account after the credit card company takes 2%, right? In a world of digital credit, that means that it takes 4 years for the money to move 40 times, and at the end of the 4 years, all the money's gone. In a world of digital money, it means you can move the money once a second. Maybe you can move the money 60 times a second. You move the money 60 times a second for a 20th of a penny, you still have the money. The computers are not going to think one click, one settlement every 30 days. They're not going to agree to pay 200 basis points per vibration of the money, right? Digital money is profound. It's so profound that everybody in the business of managing money doesn't even understand what this means. When they understand what this means, then the industry is going to 100x. Bitcoin is going to go to the moon.
And there you have it, another episode of MSTR Today. And it's Sunday, so let's go through my portfolio. For those who aren't aware, I've been buying $210 of MSTR every trading day of 2025. Rain, shine, snow, sleet, doesn't matter. I'm buying. And as you can see here now, this is my last week's purchase. A lot of them are in the green right here. One of them is up actually as much as 18%. You can see I had a nice little green period going on here, but then we do dive into the red zone, which kind of evens that out. So I did bring my average cost per share this week down to $307. So that was pretty sweet. I watched it go down from $310 to $307 when I entered my 5 purchases over the week, these most recent 5 down here. That gives me a total gain of a negative 2.48%. So I'm getting close to even. We'll see what happens this coming week for a $362 loss currently. We'll see where I'm going. We'll see what happens. It'll be a fun time for sure. But I'm going to keep sticking to my guns. And this is exactly the situation where you can't get drawn down into the just FUD, the fear, uncertainty, doubt that's everywhere on social media, specifically X. Everybody's an expert. Everybody thinks they know exactly what they're talking about. Believe me, I know the people that I follow, that I know, like, and trust, that they're humans and they make mistakes as well. But I know that they're good intentioned. I know they have the same beliefs as I do as far as where the market's going. Again, it's inevitable. So I'm just making the decision to surround myself with optimistic, future forward-looking individuals, not people that are just spreading fear, anxiety, and doubt. I don't need those people, because you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So make sure you curate those people wisely. Thank you for choosing me to be one of those 5, at least for 15 minutes today. And as Michael Saylor loves to say, there is no second best.
What's the second best? There is no second best.